All right, hey, we got another comparison video for you today for in-pool loungers. Today we're going to compare the Tenjam Laylo Lounger to the Aqua Outdoors Chaise Lounger. So let's start with the Aqua Outdoors Chaise Lounger. So as we look at this product, I'm just going to lift it up. On the back of it, you'll see these ribs that go down the whole back portion of the chair. Now this lounger has been being used in this pool for a few months. When you fill it, you can see the lounger gets really heavy, and the homeowners here have dragged it over the ground when the water's in it, which is easy to do, so it's pretty chewed up. There's two fill holes on the very top up here. No more holes throughout the bottom of the lounger. So as we go through the filling steps, you're gonna see how we go about filling it with the two holes up here, and then also how we go about draining this lounger. So overall fit and finish though, it's just a little chewed up on the sides, and that's pretty much just from use, and because I can tell it's gonna be a hard one to empty. So there's gonna be a lot of water in it, which is gonna cause people to drag it around when it's full. So Tenjam Laylo Lounger. You can see here the backrests and profiles are very similar to the two, but Tenjam Laylo Lounger is a two-piece design. This lounger is easy to take apart. There's three plastic connectors right here, no tools needed. Within a minute you can assemble it, within a minute you can take it apart. Really easy to take the separate pieces into storage. Throughout the whole bottom of the lounger, if I tilt this one up, you're gonna see they have very thick plastic wall construction. They don't have these ribs down the bottom of the lounger where you see it from the back. There is fill holes all throughout the bottom of this lounger. This fill hole down here is actually for an optional weight. So as you get into deeper water, you can actually add extra weight into it, and it makes it really easy to get this thing to work in all sorts of different water depths. With Laylo Lounger by Tenjam, there's also these riser ports. There's optional risers, a 4-inch riser and an 8-inch riser. As your water depths increase all the way up to 22 inches, Tenjam has a riser that helps work with that. So that's what those are for. And with all the holes on the bottom, you're just gonna see how easy this is to fill and empty. And while it's in the pool, the water can constantly recirculate through the core of the product. So let's just talk about how they sit. I'm gonna move them. Oh, by the way, this one does have an easy handle on the side of it to kind of carry it and move it, so you're not dragging it around. But if I sit them side by side, you'll see the leg rest design is quite a bit different, although the profile of the back rests are pretty similar. So if I sit on the Aqua Outdoor, let's do that. Sit in it, a little bit tricky to get into, it's very low. Now this lounger without risers works up to 9-inch water depth. With their optional riser kit, which floats by the way, it's hard to get it on there, it works up to 14-inch water depth. So when I sit on an Aqua Outdoor Lounger, the backrest profile, it does sit me a little bit more upright than previous videos where you've seen me on ledge loungers and stuff where you sit really far back. Overall though, my legs, this leg hump design, you see this leg hump design. Some are real big rounded designs. This one's a little bit more edgy, but it doesn't really fit people's legs right. You can see when I'm sitting on it, it just kind of has a lot of pressure on your calves. If you were taller, maybe that fits you better. I'm like 5'10". I like to say 5'11", but everyone will call me out on that. But overall, it's not too bad. It's just on your legs, it does kind of bend quickly. So if you were shorter, had kids on it, it might not fit them as well. Tenjam's design, you'll see similar backrest profile, higher headrest, and a flatter leg design. The reason for that is to fit more people's sizes. So if you had easier to get on because it has a little higher seat, but when I sit on this, it's a higher backrest. I feel fully supported. I feel like it's more contoured through here. The leg rest, you can see my legs are flat. There's like equal pressure from my hamstrings all the way through my calves to my heels, so full support all the way down. So overall comfort, this lounger by Tenjam is more comfortable due to the leg rest design. So let's put them in the water. So let's start with the Tenjam Laylo Lounger. So again, we roll it over, easy to carry into the pool. Step in, you have control of the lounger the whole time. You want to push the nose or footrest of the lounger down. You can see that hole's underwater, and this thing quickly starts to fill and sink. At that point, you can just let it roll back, and then you can I can feel all the air coming out of here. And we're only in 6-inch water depth, but so that's about all I need to do. tilt this thing over, pull it back onto my sun shelf. Now, if you didn't want to pull this over the sun shelf, you could get two people to kind of come help you lift it, but you can put it into place like that. So it's full, very quick. And here you can see it's not floating. Like a lot of loungers, when you fill them, you'll see them bouncing around. As the pool gets more active, if I was to do that, you'd see most loungers are starting to do that. So with Tenjam Laylo, it's solid on the front after going through that filling process, and there is optional weights. So if you see the front of the lounger is drifting a little bit, you can just reach down after you go through that filling process and put that weight into that porthole, and it makes it really solid. There's also a porthole on the front of this piece here. So if you were all the way up to 14-inch water depth, which is actually above the leg rest, you can fully submerge the leg rest of this lounger by adding optional weights to it. Now, let's fill the Aqua Outdoor Lounger. I'm going to grab the ribs. They kind of act as handles as well. Now, there's the only holes on the product are up at the headrest. So that's where you want to start. Actually, if you go sideways, I think that's easier because you want to just keep one of those holes above the water, one below, so that that water can start working itself in and the air can be displaced out of this hole here. Ultimately, you want to get as much water as possible into the leg rest or the leg hump of the lounger. So as you fill it, make an effort to get the leg rest pointed downward, and that's going to make sure you're not trapping air up inside this hump. So here we go. Now it's a much longer process because we're only dealing with two small holes to get the air in and out. So next we're going to also take them out of the water. So you can imagine this process going just the opposite direction. Again, just want to get all that air out of there. I'll put it down so you guys can just see all the bubbles still coming out of here. Now, as you do this, I'm adding quite a bit of force to hold this thing underwater, and this surface in the pool is actually pretty textured, and I can see why the bottom of this lounger and the corners of the lounger have gotten beat up by having them in this pool a few months. Okay, so I think got most of the water out of there. I have the nose pointing down. They've seen me do the same process with like a ledge lounger, and their loungers, they spec them out to be about 160 pounds when they're full of water. This thing I can tell is no different. Now, I can feel it really heavy. Just kind of walking it back on the sun shelf. If you had a vinyl liner, you definitely want someone to come and help you lift this thing up and move it so you're not just dragging on that vinyl liner. So now I got this in the pool. And through that fill method, I've gotten all the water out of here. So I've got that solid. I can hear that solid. And so this thing right now, there's no drifting. Now this again only works up to 9-inch water depth. As the depth goes up to 14, they have a riser that you would have to lift this product onto, and that's quite tricky by yourself. But so here it is full, not drifting, and solid. Now with Laylo, it's got the holes in the bottom. And so the pool water can constantly recirculate within the lounger while it's in here. So if you were to leave it in the pool for a month, some people do, the water in the core is going to constantly be recirculating and refreshing, so it's going to restrict the algae growth inside the lounger. The Aqua Outdoor Lounger has the holes up on the backrest in just those two spots. So they say on their website, it says change the water out about every 6 months. If you do that, I guarantee you're going to have some algae buildup after about 6 months. You'll want to do that, in my opinion, and on other competitors that have the same kind of fill system, they say to change it out every few weeks. And when you change the water out of these things after that period of time, that water's dirty. It's, algae starting to grow in it. You don't want to empty it back into your pool. So you have to physically lift this thing, get it out away from your pool, and then dump it somewhere. Probably not in your yard. Try to find some gravel or something to drain it off into. So now if we're going to take these out of the pool, maybe you have a safety cover or just an auto cover that you put on. Some people do that every night, and they need to take the furniture out of their pool, or they have these little cleaners that run around the pool and they get wrapped around the pool furniture. You'll want to take the furniture out. All right, before we take these out of the pool, let's just look at a couple more things about them. So again, we're in 6.5 inch water depth, and let's talk water depths here. So this lounger works only up to 9 inch water depth. Right now, if I take the 6.5 inch water depth, I'm gonna look at the side of the lounger. This thing at that highest point is about 9 3/4. So as this thing comes up to 9 inches, you only have about 3/4 of an inch of water up in here to try to hold this thing down. Again, any water that's below the water line inside the lounger is not going to act as weight to hold it down. It's only water that's inside above the water line that helps act as weight. So as I read reviews on the lounger, I do see a lot of people saying, the front's drifting, it's moving a lot. And so with this lounger, there's no way to add more weight to it. We've already filled it with water. And so when we get up to that 9 inch mark, I can definitely see where this thing would start, losing ground because it's got no weight holding it down. With the Laylo lounger, oh, by the way, the seat height you can see is quite a bit lower. So we'll sit in them too here while they're in the pool. The Laylo seat height, this is 6.5 inch water depth. The drain hole in the seat, which it has a drain hole in the seat, this one doesn't, is at 6 inches. All right. So as your water gets to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 inches tall, which the top of this is 12 inches. This lounger, because you can add selective weights or optional coated lead weights into the front of the leg rest or the backrest, you can actually set this lounger up to where in some depths it can be fully submerged, which is the first lounger on the market that allows for full leg submersion. Again, in this, it could be all the way up to 14 inch depth. And then Tenjam offers the different risers that are 4 inches and 8 inches tall. And that lets you really customize this lounger based on the seat height you want and how deep or high you want to sit in the pool. We get people that want to sit up above the pool water depth. So adding 4 inch risers would give you a 10 inch seat height and let you sit up above the water line, which is desired by some people. With this lounger here, it does sit super low. It has one riser height. That riser height allows this lounger to work up to 14 inch water depth. So it lifts it all up. And so if it works in 9, it lifts it up 5 inches and it lifts the entire lounger up from front to back. But this thing's full of water, again, 100 and maybe 60 pounds. So if you use that riser, and I didn't bring one today because I didn't need one in this water depth, the riser, you assemble it, it floats, and you have to lift this super heavy lounger on top of the riser. The Tenjam risers actually snap into the bottom of the lounger and stay connected to the lounger. So as we're going through the filling and emptying steps, the risers are just attached to it. So let's sit in the loungers quick while they're in the pool. So the Tenjam, a little higher seat height, makes it easier to get into, kind of hold on to. Again, water's right here in 6 inches, and this thing can go all the way up to 14 inches with selective weights, which is about 2 inches above this leg rest here. So you really got a whole depth you can do with this lounger based on risers and weights. Again, all the way up to 22 inches tall if you do 8 inch risers with some weights inside of it. Super easy to fill, and you saw that as well. So here I am in the Tenjam lounger, fully supported, legs here. If I move around, the leg rest doesn't feel like it's like lifting up off the pool. Everything feels really solid. Let's get in the Aqua lounger, Aqua Outdoor. This lounger, I kind of sit on the leg rest and work, kind of slide my way back in. It's a lower seat. This lounger is more laid back. And so when I look up, I am looking straight at the sun right now at this particular time. So that doesn't work for me, but it does make you look up to the sky. I just happen to be looking directly into the sun right now. Because we're in 6 inch water depth and this has a lower seat, I have more water where I'm sitting in it. My feet, my ankles, you see that they're actually hanging up above the surface of the lounger. I can push them down to touch the face of it, but that's not my natural seating position. So this type of leg rest design, this leg hump that a lot of manufacturers use, just isn't comfortable for me or a wide variety of people, from kids to tall adults. So that's the sit. And again, before we drain them, let's just talk about one more thing: how much room they take up on a sun shelf. Like, what's the size of the sun shelf you need to make these loungers work? So I'm gonna get out of this one. I'm going to grab a tape measure and I'm going to pull them to the back of the sun shelf here. You just kind of see how much room you need. This lounger is noticeably lighter as I move it. The water that's inside the lounger is just right up to the water line here. And it's a lot lighter. I don't have to scrape it as much. I can kind of lift it more. But if we look at how much room, I backed it up to the coping, how much room we need on a sun shelf for these. I'm gonna back it up. Depends on how your coping sits. But right here, I am at 53 inches. I'm at 53 inches from the back to the front of the footrest. So that's a minimum you're going to need. This lounger here, I'm at 60. I got a 60-inch ledge. So about a 7-inch difference. Not huge, but does make a difference for some people with smaller ledges. As far as the width goes, I think these things are the exact same. This one's about 22 and a half, and this one is 21 and a quarter. So a lot of loungers in this without armrests come in around like 20 to 26. All of them feel fine with width. Tenjam does make a lounger that's extra wide called the Chaise lounger. It has armrests. That thing's the ultimate. Damn! But in a side-by-side comparison, we're gonna go apples to apples. Okay, now we're gonna take both of them out of the pool. So with the Laylo lounger, it has all those open air holes on the bottom. Just start by grabbing this handle, lift it very slow. What's happening right now is all the water's just starting to work its way out. There are holes that are between this piece here, the backrest, and the footrest that are aligned, and allows all that water to flow out of all these holes in between these units here. Now, as I lift it, it just gets lighter and lighter. You eventually just go to that full position there, grab the handle on the side, lift it, hold it like horizontal like that, and all the water is going to drain out of the bottom of it. So there, I can feel that's the last bits, and I can take it out of the pool. I can hold it. I still have that. I added that 4-pound weight in there just to show, but easy to carry, easy to hold. Can take this thing right out of the pool. All right. So with these loungers, as you move them around rough surfaces, they're very susceptible to getting scratched up. There's a video on that we made where we show you how to sand it, flame it, and make them look good again. But know that this one's getting extra scratched up because of the movement when water's in it. Now, when I take this out of the pool, if this has been in the pool for some weeks, they say every 6 months you change it out. That water inside is starting to grow things. You don't want to empty that water back into the pool. So you would need 2 people grabbing this lounger, lift it out of the pool, and take it somewhere to drain it. Since we just filled it with pool water right now, we're going to try a couple different methods. Now, the air holes, there's only 2 holes on the bottom or on this lounger. They're both up here in the backrest, just 2. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift up the footrest. So if you had a pool where every day maybe you had an auto cover and you want to put the auto cover on or the safety net, this is the method you do, because you could just drain that water back into the pool. So you hold it. It's extremely heavy. I'm probably, I don't know, maybe it feels like about 80 pounds or something like that. And I'm trying to get all that water to drain out of here, out of those holes that are in the headrest. I can feel nothing's moving anywhere right now. It's still those holes being underwater. So if I tilt it to the side, at least that's going to let air in that one hole that's above the water line and start to drain that water. I mean, if you can see that. So you just kind of wait this out. Don't know a better method. And as I'm doing this, I can feel like this thing's swirling around on this real rough pool finish, and that's why these corners are so chewed up, and the bottom of this thing is so chewed up, because just doing this, and these top corners are chewed up. See if I can show you guys the water coming out of it. There is a ton of water still up in the leg rest. I can just feel it as I try to hold it in one spot here. See if it's even light enough to try to lift. Oh yeah. So here I'm just draining one, but you can imagine if you had 2 of these that you're trying to put in the pool every day and take them out of the pool every day, this wouldn't be a fun process. And again, if you only take it out of your pool like every month to drain it to get that algae water out of there, you just take it somewhere else in the yard and hold it like that. So here we're probably got most of the water out of it. You see by the hole locations here, the holes are here, and I think just a lot of that water, Jesus, that doesn't work. In my attempts to get the water out of this, you don't want to store this thing with water inside of it. If you store it over the winter or something, you still got water trapped inside, it's definitely turning green. So you want to try to get the water out. I was going to try to put it on the ground, maybe like this. Try to see if I can get the last bit of water out of there. You can see I'm getting some out. And this is most imperative if you're just going to put it in storage, because it's not going to dry out with those little air holes right there. So that's emptying the Aqua Outdoor Lounger. I think we got it good enough for now. So in our comparison, you saw, I'll just move this thing over here. And while we're doing that, you can just see how chewed up the bottom is from people going through the same exact process that I just did. These aren't really handles. These ribs they're angled, so they are hard to grip, and that's slippery. So that's why you saw me kind of fumble around with that. If I put them side by side again. So overall, what you get is you get a very similar price point between these two loungers. With the Aqua, it's just a really hard to fill and empty system. The comfort isn't quite there with that leg hump design, and you don't have much range of water depth, up to 9 inches, up to 14 inches with a riser. The Tenjam Laylo Lounger, just holes throughout the bottom. Water can constantly recirculate through the core of the lounger, way less apt to grow algae in the core over time. It's just way easier to put in the pool, way easier to take out of the pool, and ultimately a lot more comfortable. So that's the comparison. Thanks for watching.